The space station drifted in silence, far above a dead moon. Broken panels sparked. The hull was scarred with blast marks. Alarms no longer screamed. Only the soft hum of the emergency lights remained. Deep inside the station, among fallen crew and scattered tools, a man moved quietly. His name was Terran. He was not a soldier. He never trained for war. Terran was a maintenance technician. He fixed pipes, cleaned filters, and sometimes joked with pilots about coffee machines. But now, he was the only one left alive. The attack came fast. An alien fleet from the Borak Empire. Brutal, merciless, and proud. They believed humans were weak. They wanted to show the galaxy that Earth could be crushed in one blow. And they nearly succeeded. Terran had hidden inside a crawl space when the walls shook and the power went out. He heard screams, gunfire, then silence. 3 hours passed before he dared to move. What he saw turned his stomach. His friends, his captain, even the medic. All gone. He didn't cry. Not yet. His hands shook as he picked up a metal rod and walked slowly through the halls. The station wasn't fully destroyed. The aliens thought everyone was dead, but one man remained. A human. Alone. And they didn't know it. He found the command deck door sealed with debris. Instead of clearing it, he turned and went to the maintenance bay. This was his world. Wires, vents, toolboxes, spare power cores. He began thinking like a mechanic, not a warrior. Terran opened a panel and crawled inside a narrow duct. He reached the security grid. Cameras were broken, but sensors still worked. He rewired them manually. Soon he had a full layout of where the aliens were moving. They were splitting into groups, walking slowly like hunters. They laughed in their strange language, stepping over human bodies, looking for anything worth stealing. Terran whispered to himself, "You should have just taken the fuel and left." He began collecting what he needed. Scrap wires, EMP traps, gas cans, pressure valves. The aliens didn't know this place like he did. This station was his home. He knew every vent, every loose floor tile, every fuse that could blow a door open. He moved like a ghost. When one alien came close, he froze behind a metal door, breathing silently. When they passed, he planted a trap behind them. Minutes later, a flash of light and a loud crack echoed through the hall. Terran didn't smile. He didn't feel joy. Just focus. He dragged one of the alien weapons back to the workshop. It was big and strange, made for 3-fingered hands. He opened it, studied it, and used parts of it to build something new, something human and alien, combined. He ate protein bars, drank from melted ice packs, and didn't sleep. His eyes were red. His arms were scratched and bruised. But he kept moving. Soon the aliens noticed something was wrong. "Who is doing this?" One shouted. "Impossible." "All were dead," another replied. They started searching seriously now. They split into more teams. They turned on their scanners. But Terran had already blocked most signals by flooding certain areas with heat and smoke. They were blind. Terran set off a false alarm on level 4. When they ran there, he silently moved through the ceiling, setting traps in the engine room, fire gas mixed with oxygen lines, ready to blow. His mind was racing but clear. He found a body of a fallen soldier. Gently, he closed the man's eyes and took his radio. "You didn't die for nothing," Terran whispered. Using the radio, he recorded alien voices and began playing them from different parts of the ship to confuse the enemy. They began arguing, even fighting among themselves. Fear was growing. They were trained for battles, but not for ghosts. Then, Terran found something unexpected, a control chip, alien tech, small but glowing. He didn't know what it did, but he felt its power. He held it in his hand, eyes fixed. "You came here thinking we'd beg for mercy," he said softly. "Now you'll beg for air." He inserted the chip into the power core system. Suddenly, systems lit up. Doors slammed shut, lights flashed red, pressure changed. Alien weapons stopped responding in some sections. Terran smiled for the first time. He wasn't fighting with fists. He was fighting with knowledge, with courage, with memory. He was the last human on this station, And now, he wasn't hiding anymore, he stood before a control panel, one hand on a makeshift pulse cannon. He whispered just 2 words to the empty hallway ahead. "Come find me." The Borak Empire didn't lose easily. Their warriors were trained from birth. Their machines were smarter than most human officers, and their scanners could find heat, sound, and even movement in the dark. But none of that helped them now, because the human they were hunting was thinking like something they had never faced before. Terran wasn't just hiding anymore. He was building a battlefield. Every wire, every pipe, every locked door was now part of his plan. And the station, his home, was turning into a trap the aliens didn't understand. 3 Borak warriors entered Corridor Delta 2. They moved fast, scanning for life signs. Their weapons glowed with orange light. They were sure the ghost, this human, was close. Then they heard something. Laughter. Soft, mechanical. Bouncing through the hallway from different speakers. One Borak turned to the other. Was that human? Before they could respond, the floor beneath them exploded. A hidden pressure tank released a blast of hot steam. One of them fell back, his armor cracked. The others ran for cover, but the hallway behind them had already sealed shut. They were trapped. Above them, in the vent, Terran moved silently. He held a broken alien radio patched into the station's sound system. He had recorded their own voices and now used them to confuse and mislead them. Split them, he whispered to himself. Make them chase shadows. He didn't want to fight head-on. He wanted to make them feel fear, confusion, doubt. He planted a heat pack in a broken panel and set it to pulse. Their machines would think it was a living human. When they chased it, they'd walk right into the next trap. In the old power room, he found a damaged alien drone. Its wings were broken, but its brain still worked. Terran connected it to his system. Now he had a camera. He watched as the aliens began arguing. They blamed each other. One group tried to override the controls, but every time they made progress, Terran locked them out again. He was always one step ahead, back in the command bay. The Borak commander slammed his fist on the console. "This is one human," he shouted. "One!" But the soldiers were growing nervous. "He is everywhere," one muttered. "Or he has help." They didn't know the truth. Terran had no help, only memory, courage, and tools. Inside the vent, Terran's hand shook. He had barely slept. His left side ached from a fall. But he kept moving. He found an old engineering suit and tore off the armor plates. He strapped them to his arms and chest, tied with wires and belts. It wasn't perfect, but it would help. Then he found a mirror, cracked, dusty. He looked at himself. Not a soldier, but something else now. He whispered, "They think they can break me. Let's break their machines instead." He crawled down into the core access tunnel. It was tight, hot, and dangerous, but it led to the control node, the brain of the station. As he reached the panel, he connected the alien chip he found earlier. Screens flickered. Data scrolled fast, unreadable. But Terran didn't need to understand the language. He understood the system. He found their signal and he blocked it. The Borak ship above tried to send orders to their warriors, but got nothing. One by one, alien weapons lost their lock-on features. One by one, lights on their helmets shut down. They were blind, panicked, trapped, and now hunted. Terran moved fast. He activated fire doors, released sleeping gas in empty corridors, turned the gravity off in one section, then back on while they floated. He didn't kill them all, but he made them afraid. The Borak soldiers regrouped in the docking bay. Only 10 left now, from 30, some injured, all angry. The commander stood, tall. "He wants us scared," he growled. "We are warriors." But his voice shook. Just then, one of their helmets exploded with sparks. The warrior dropped to the floor unconscious. The lights flickered, and from above, a voice echoed through the bay. "You should have brought more machines." It was Terran's voice. Calm, slow, terrifying. They opened fire on the ceiling, but he was never there. He had routed the sound through old wires. On the other side of the station, Terran breathed slowly, watching them through the drone's camera. His traps had worked. He pulled out a small photo from his pocket, his old crew smiling during a holiday meal. "This is for you," he said softly. He placed one last device on the floor, a power surge bomb. "It wouldn't kill, but it would erase every alien system in the room," he whispered. "Let's see your machines think their way out of this." He pressed the trigger. A silent flash, a burst of blue light. Screens went black, weapons powered down. The alien screamed, and above it all, the voice returned. "One human. Remember that." The docking bay was dark now. Broken machines lay scattered across the floor. Alien warriors leaned against the walls, their weapons useless, their helmets cracked. Sparks fell from the ceiling. Smoke crawled through the vents. They had never known defeat like this, not from ships, not from armies, but from one man. In the quiet corner of the engineering deck, Terran wrapped a torn cloth around his arm. He was bleeding, not badly, but enough to slow him down. Still, he didn't stop. He kept building, thinking, moving. His hands trembled with pain, but his mind stayed sharp. He whispered, "Don't stop now. Not yet." He checked the system logs. The Barak had sent a message to their command ship, one last call before he blocked their signal. They asked for their strongest warrior to land, someone they called the General. Terran knew what that meant. They were bringing in the monster. He had maybe 30 minutes. He set the last of his traps in the central hall, wires hidden under old crates, charges behind broken walls, smoke bombs set in the air vents. Then he sat quietly and waited. He thought about home. The green hills, the sound of rain on steel roofs. His sister's voice on the old communicator. She had told him once, "You're not just smart, Terran. You're stubborn." Now that stubbornness was the only thing keeping him alive. The ground shook. A heavy door opened with a hiss, and then he saw him. The General was huge, taller than any other Borak. His armor looked alive, glowing with red veins of energy. His eyes burned with rage. He walked slowly, without fear, without hurry. He didn't carry a weapon. He didn't need one. His hands were enough. Terran stepped out from the shadows. He held a small device in one hand, half human, half alien tech. He said nothing. The General stared. "You're the one?" His voice was deep, calm. Terran nodded. "Just me." "You have no army," the General said. "No ships, no backup." "I don't need any," Terran replied. "Then die," the General charged. Terran didn't run. He threw the device at the wall and smoke filled the hall. Lights blinked. Alarms screamed. The General swung blindly, but Terran moved fast. He struck with a metal pipe, hitting the back of the alien's leg. Sparks flew. Armor cracked. But the General didn't fall. He grabbed Terran and threw him across the floor. Terran hit the wall hard. Pain exploded in his ribs. He gasped, but he got up. Limping, he dragged himself toward the reactor room. The General followed, laughing now. "You're weak," he shouted. Terran reached the reactor door and sealed it behind him. He locked the system, powered the emergency core, and stared at the screen. He had 20 seconds. "You think power is in strength?" Terran said through the speaker. "But true power is in knowing when to use it." The General pounded on the door. 10 seconds. Terran waited. Then the power surged. The floor lit up with blue light. The emergency field activated, shocking the General through his armor. He roared in pain, falling to one knee. Terran opened the door. He stepped out, bruised and shaking. He looked the General in the eye. "You're not the first to call me weak," Terran said. "But you'll be the last." He pressed a button on his belt. The pulse cannon he had built fired from above. It struck the General straight in the chest. The alien flew back, hit the far wall, and didn't move. Terran collapsed to his knees. It was over, but he knew he wasn't done. He dragged himself to the command center. The remaining aliens, scattered, afraid, watched him on the screens. They saw one man, bloodied, limping, barely standing, but still standing. Terran spoke into the open channel. "I'm not your enemy. I never wanted this, but if you come for my people, if you come for Earth, you better be ready to lose everything." He shut down the channel. He walked to the edge of the deck, looking out at the stars. Behind him, the bodies of his crew, but in front of him, future they could still protect, he whispered. "I'm not broken, I'm still here, and the galaxy would remember that." Outside the space station, the stars were quiet, but inside, a storm was coming. Terran sat alone in the control room, blood on his hands, his uniform torn. Pain pulsed through every part of his body. Still, he kept moving. He couldn't rest, not yet. Above him, the alien command ship hovered. Dark, silent, watching. They had seen the general fall. They had seen their best machines fail. And now, they were afraid. Terran pulled open the last power panel. Sparks flew. The main core was unstable. Warning lights flashed red. But this was part of his plan. He whispered, "You wanted war. Now you'll get one." He activated the storm protocol, a secret system built long ago in case of a full station shutdown. It had never been used. Most people didn't even know it existed, but Terran had found it in the old files, and now he was ready. Outside, the station began to glow. Blue energy flowed through the outer rings. Panels opened. Hidden turrets rose from the surface. Satellite dishes turned to the sky, gathering power from the nearby stars. The Borak command ship sent a message. "Stand down, human. We will destroy this station," Terran replied calmly. "Try." They fired. A red beam shot toward the station, but Terran had already redirected the shields. The beam bounced off, crashing into a nearby asteroid. Terran smiled. "Your weapons are strong," he said softly, "but this station was built by humans, and we build with heart." He pressed a button. The station fired back, not with one beam, but with 5, pure energy, focused and deadly. The alien ship shook. Small explosions danced across its surface. Their shields broke. Inside the enemy ship, panic grew. Officers shouted. Systems failed. Weapons went dark. They had never expected this. Not from a half-destroyed station. Not from one man. On board the station, Terran set the final system in place, the override signal. It would send a blast to every alien system nearby, shutting down their tech, crashing their drones and disabling their ships. He had one chance. He leaned against the console, coughing. Blood touched his lips. "If this works," he whispered, "they'll never come back." He closed his eyes, pressed the button, and the storm began. A wave of white light burst from the station, silent and powerful. It moved fast, faster than any ship could escape. Every alien machine in its path shut down. Ships froze, drones fell, weapons powered off, and above them, the Borak command ship went black. No lights, no engines, nothing, just silence. Inside, the station systems flickered. The core was burning out. The place wouldn't survive much longer. Terran slumped to the floor. His breath was slow, weak. But then, he heard something, a voice on the radio. "This is Earth Fleet Gamma 9, we received your signal. We're moving in." He blinked. He wasn't alone anymore. A screen lit up, showing human ships entering the sector. Sleek, fast, ready for battle. But they didn't need to fight. The fight was over. Terran had already won. Rescue crews boarded the station. They found him barely conscious, still holding the control pad. They asked, "How did you survive?" He smiled weakly. "I didn't survive. I made sure they didn't." He was carried to safety, eyes closing at last. Days later, the story spread across the galaxy. A single human, against an army, against machines, against fate, and he won. The station was renamed the Terran Line, and from that day on, when children asked, "What is a human?" their elders would answer, "A storm in silence."